Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the brother of the king, King Charles, has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
Stephanie Bennett joins us live from London with the breaking details and the reaction from the royal family. Stephanie?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, we are hearing some reaction from the king himself and from others in the political cabinet, of course. Now, police have to treat this investigation like it's any other person. What's significant, of course, is the urgency. It was an arrest. It wasn't an invitation to come down to the police station to give information. So this came as a shock to him, to the royal family, to everybody. The Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, we have heard from him. He said, as Justice Secretary and as the Prime Minister has said before, nobody in this country is above the law. Still waiting to hear from the Prime Minister, of course. But an arrest also now means that police can search his home and possessions. We are not sure where he is right now, but he is likely being held in a police cell. And in most cases, suspects are held for 12 to 24 hours and are either charged or released pending further investigation. He has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public offense over allegations he sent confidential government documents to Jeffrey Epstein. Thames Valley Police did not name Andrew directly in their statement as per national guidance, but said they're carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and in Norfolk. Now, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is King Charles III's younger brother. The king released this statement saying in part, quote, "What now follows is the full, fair and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." Earlier, it was reported that 6 unmarked police cars and around 8 plainclothed officers had arrived at Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate. This happening in eastern England, where Andrew now lives, after he was forced to leave Windsor's Royal Lodge after he was stripped of his titles. We're also hearing reports that that location could also be under search as well. We are also hearing from the family of Virginia Giuffre, who was an advocate for survivors of sex trafficking and one of the most prominent accusers of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, of course, Andrew has not been arrested for anything surrounding her, but information in the Epstein files around activities while he was a trade envoy. Now, in that statement from her family today, they said, quote, "At last, today our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty. On behalf of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, we extend our gratitude to the UK's Thames Valley Police for their investigation and arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He was never a prince. For survivors everywhere, Virginia did this for you." Now, Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing, and today marks his 66th birthday.
Okay. Too soon? No, not too soon. Not too soon. No. The pedophile arrest counter has chipped up to 1 today, ladies and gentlemen. News that you have probably no doubt already heard. Prince Andrew has been arrested for crimes with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. Awesome. Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Reid Hoffman, anyone? Soon? Please, ladies and gentlemen, today is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. Prince Andrew is in custody. It was his birthday. And he's now been taken into, he's sitting in a jail cell right now. First time in 400 years that a royal has been arrested. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Gates is on the run, pulls out, something that he's not prone to do, of India's AI summit over Epstein controversy. So Bill Gates is now on the run as well. My goodness, are we actually going to see some accountability for the global elites? I don't know, man. I'm not sure if I should give up hope. I don't know. You know, maybe this is just like to satisfy the public and then let all of the rest of it slide. Once everybody moves on and everyone we all start bombing Iran or whatever happens next, the aliens come and they just like, okay, we're just going to forget that this ever happened. You know, go live off in a castle in Scotland. I don't know. I'm not sure. We have some experts, however, who will be joining us. Harry Cole, British citizen and an editor at the Sun newspaper will be live on the program soon. Liz Croken, who has long documented the predations of the elites and some of their horrible acts, will also be live on the program. And by popular demand, Brandon Herrera, candidate for congressional office in Texas and gun enthusiast to a legend, will also be joining the program. Thanks to the chat for suggesting that one. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Before we head on over to merry old England for what is news that could break the crown in half, let's focus on America first. American financing can help you get out of high-interest credit card debt. We talk about them a lot. They're friends of the show because, well, I think that high-interest credit card debt is immoral. The Bible warns against usury. And the Bible talks about how immoral it is to charge people 20 and 30% for their interest rates and to break them. And this is something that I think should, quite frankly, be codified in law. There should be caps and limits on this kind of stuff. Anyway, high-interest credit card debt is really bad in America right now. It's really something that cripples American families. I don't want to see it happen to you. And here's a solution. You can call American Financing today. America's home for home loans and for using your home equity in order to get that credit card debt down to a more reasonable rate. They can help you. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Go call them today. Okay. Prince Andrew arrested and held in custody on his birthday. Dramatic raid. Does this come as a surprise to you? It comes as a surprise to me that an elite was arrested. That somebody who is from the royal family, descendants of Count Dracula himself, descendants of Transylvania, descendants of the literal bloodsuckers. These people are the longest serving elites, can trace their lineages back thousands of years, the longest serving elites on the planet. They are inarguably the most untouchable, and that is what makes this such massive news. The fact that royals can be arrested in England, that prime ministers can be arrested in Scandinavian countries, that in Finland and Sweden, this both happened, and that members of royal family can be dragged into this in Denmark, for instance, and yet nothing happens here in America, is enraging. I'm just off the top, it's enraging. Also, before we jump into all of the profound evidence against Prince Andrew, I want to say this, England is a country that has long been protecting grooming and rape gangs of Pakistanis and Muslims. They refuse to prosecute these arguably as heinous, if not far more heinous crimes. We'll see what Prince Andrew is ultimately charged with. I think that they could potentially accelerate these crimes given new evidence from the Epstein files, because there's some really creepy stuff about Andrew in them, and we'll cover that. But it does seem like selective prosecution here. I'm okay with the prosecution. I'm fine with it. But doesn't this seem like selective prosecution? Doesn't it seem like, hot damn, you guys in every town in England, you got a rape gang that gets brushed on. They all just have to go to some little class and course, and then they go right back into grooming and raping of young people. And this happens all the time. A producer, can you grok this? I want the data on what a massive problem these Pakistani and Muslim grooming gangs are throughout the United Kingdom. Yet nothing is done with it. Keir Starmer, who's the prime minister at the time, is famous for actually covering all of this up, for not charging. They're dead to rights. These people are the world's most seething monsters, utterly indefensible. Yet they go after Prince Andrew. Fine. I'm glad that they're going after Prince Andrew. But if you are going to try and prove that there is justice and that nobody is above the law, then you need to lock up infinity Muslims in the UK who've done more monstrous things than Prince Andrew. Not saying the guy's innocent. In fact, it's quite obvious that the guy is guilty. And so we're going to take a giant step back here and give some huge shout outs to James O'Keefe. I don't know if this would even be happening without James O'Keefe, which is an insane thing to say. And I want to make my case here. Because James O'Keefe has on multiple occasions proven that Prince Andrew is somebody who was directly tied to the abuse of women. And this is not exactly what they're charging him with today. What they're charging him with is using his role as a trade envoy. So in the royal family, you get these like little special titles, and you're emissary of the crown or whatever. He was a trade envoy for the British Empire. Okay, so send him off to China or Taiwan or the whatever island, and he initiates trade partnerships or whatever, does meetings with businesses. Okay, it's just little playthings to give to your stupid kid. He is the brother of the king. He's the younger brother of the king. Allegedly Queen Elizabeth's favorite child, pampered, spoiled child. And I'm kind of glad that she wasn't around. I'm kind of glad that she's like not around to see this, because I think this would have truly sent her to the grave. Anyway, first time in 400 years that a royal was arrested, and for good reason. Prince Andrew was arrested today, and we're going to talk about some of the more lurid allegations against him, but he was arrested today for something that is like plainly obvious. He is straight up sharing classified government information with Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm going to put up on screen. I can show you the emails. We'll always show you the evidence. We'll show you all of it. What he's doing is he's like straight up giving him like investment advice, investment opportunities, classified material, the data, times, dates, information of royal trips. You can trade off this kind of information. You can take this information and you can manipulate it. You can manipulate markets. Obviously, this is the kind of stuff that a trade envoy shouldn't be doing with a pedophile. Some creepy, weird, Mossad-backed foreign intel financing, whatever the hell Jeffrey Epstein was. Right? It's like obviously, and it's somebody who's working kind of like as a intel hitman. This is like something you shouldn't be doing, but it's all there available in the emails. You can see it in his own hand. Also, Prince Andrew's wife, Sarah Ferguson's her name. She has a ton of emails with Jeffrey Epstein. And Sarah Ferguson has a really creepy relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, where she's like, effectively like offering up women to him. And it's very weird. It's very strange. And she's going back and forth with him with lurid sexual gossip and rumor mill stuff. But anyway, it's gross. It's gross. It's exactly what you thought of the royal family. And it's worse, actually. And so that's the direct evidence. Okay, so it's direct black and white evidence right here. That the dude was like trading on literal state secrets and insider trading information with Jeffrey Epstein. So that's what they brought him in. It was 8 a.m. Time in the UK. A bunch of unmarked police cars rolled up to the dude's castle. It's like a farmhouse out in the countryside, and they arrested him. Plainclothes police officers, they arrest him, and off he goes. So that's what we know right now. Here's why I'm thanking James O'Keefe for what might come next. Because what might come next, what we've also learned in the files, is there are some really very disturbing images, and here's just one of them, of Prince Andrew leering over a bunch of, over like a small girl. I don't know what's going on in this photo. Hard for me to think that it's totally innocent, because, I mean, could you imagine yourself or like your father in this situation? It's like weird, very strange. So there's clearly a young woman that is either unconscious, been drugged. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It's just total speculation. The young woman who is laying seemingly unconscious or playing dead. And there's a series of photos of Prince Andrew, like hovering over her, like lurking over her. And in touching her. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Can he explain this? It ain't his wife. Doesn't have any shoes on. I don't know, man. I'm not sure. How much more do they know about this? What you're seeing now in the Epstein files are straight up like the hidden cameras in the bedrooms with the actual beds in frame. They're releasing videos that are clearly sex tapes where both individuals are like blacked out. And why is that exactly? Right? Was one of them a Prince of England? I mean, it's clear what the operation was, and the evidence against Prince Andrew is quite clear as well. The King of England, King Charles, has straight up said, I'm going to cooperate. This is devastating. This is really, really bad for us and our family, and we're sorry about this. We're going to cooperate. And so, couldn't be worse, honestly, but accelerate that up one level. If they have further evidence that Prince Andrew has been abusing young girls, then he could be facing the rest of his life in prison in England. I mean, British law easily allows for somebody who is a child predator to spend the rest of their days, to never be a free man again, spend the rest of their days behind bars. And there's no like royal trump card that's going to get you out of this. Now, the reason why we could allege that is because, well, Andrew's closest friends say that he, and I'm using their terms here, effed like kids, underage girls. And this is where we have to thank James O'Keefe and President Trump. Because President Trump was probably the first one ever to warn us about Prince Andrew doing this. James O'Keefe was the one who proved it. So why don't we go back to President Trump stating unequivocally in 2015 that Prince Andrew is on this cesspool island and that he needs to be looked into because he's a total dirtbag on this special pedophile island of Jeffrey Epstein. Here we go.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So...
Then James O'Keefe, soon after that, released a video of a TV news anchor named Amy Rohrbach. She was the most famous female anchor at the time in the world. She was the sort of the anchor for all of ABC News on their midday show. Anyway, extremely prominent individual here. Extremely prominent, very successful reporter here. And you've probably seen this clip. It went thermonuclear viral. Nothing happened afterwards because ABC News shut this all down. I find it so rich that the first tweet in my timeline this morning was of ABC News, was George Slopanopoulos reporting on Prince Andrew, when it was ABC News that shut everything down because the royal family called in favors. It's wild. Listen to this.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story.
So she says that as soon as the palace found out that they have a whistleblower, her name was Virginia Roberts. She has photos with Prince Andrew. She says that she was trafficked to Prince Andrew. She's gone on the record about this. Listen, there's physical evidence of this. I mean, they were clearly close. We should pop it over here just so that you know, like, this isn't just some type of like Kavanaugh situation. You know, there's no photos like this of Donald Trump. Again, if there was a photo like this of Donald Trump, of some trafficked chick, then it'd be game over. There's photos of Donald Trump with some naked chick in a hot tub going like this. There isn't. There is photos of a president doing that. It's Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton should be very, very nervous about all this. Here is, what she says, she went clubbing. I mean, it looks like she's going clubbing. She's got, sort of clubbing outfit on. She said they went out in London, went to the clubs, and then she was, try to be polite here, trafficked to Prince Andrew. You know what that means? Well, I mean, dude, you have Ghislaine Maxwell leering in the background. This photo wasn't public. She did multiple interviews and wrote a whole book about it. So I don't know. There's pretty big allegations to make if you're straight up lying. Nonetheless, the royal family straight up, they settled with her for tens of millions of pounds. So there's something there that they wanted to keep quiet. And it seems like they really wanted to keep it quiet, because here's Amy Rohrbach saying that they threatened ABC News. They threatened access. They threatened them a million different ways, probably legally. Let's continue.
We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything.
Clinton, we had everything.
I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
What we had was
other
unreal.
Women backing it up. Hey, yep.
So when was this released? It's got to be like almost 10 years old. They have been trying to cover this up for so long. The fact that they have been effectively free men, the fact that this is happened, and they have been like, nothing's happened to Prince Andrew, and it's been now decades now. Thanks, James O'Keefe, for releasing this. 2015, there you go, 10 years, more than 10 years, 2026. Here's the royal family advisor who says in far less diplomatic terms that no, he was effing little kids. Here we go.
Prince Andrew, he was in the Navy. He was 250 days at sea. He never saw his kid. I was really pissed because he lied to me. Epstein. And then I did a big thing in the Daily Mail saying that I believed Andrew. And then I found out he was lying. I was so pissed. No, that he was f***ing underage girls. That's not cool.
It's not cool, John Bryan. Well, it's also not cool, John Bryan, is the fact that you won't come out, and if you know that, why aren't you telling the world that? Why would you protect somebody who, in your own words, F's underage kids? It's incredibly sick. And James O'Keefe, both of those bangers, we have to thank him for. And so, well, when the whistleblowers are saying Prince Andrew did it, when these news, sites are hunting it down and getting all this corroborating evidence and saying Prince Andrew did it, when his best friends are saying Prince Andrew did it, at some point you got to say, like, well, you should maybe charge him for you should do like a full scale investigation, because it just doesn't look good, right? It just doesn't look good. And that's quite frankly where I think this is going to go. And I'd love to see it. I want to see him take down the Pakistani rape gangs too. But I'm glad. I mean, listen, if you can take down a member of the royal family, then there's really no limiting principle here. It's not too long until like Bill Gates and Bill Clinton need to start sweating bullets here. Virginia Roberts, who was obviously killed, I'm just going to say it, she was just obviously murdered. Virginia Roberts was murdered, no doubt, because she would be the top booking in the world right now. Virginia Roberts was the one who went out in public and exposed all of this long before anybody knew about the island, about Epstein. Like, when these revelations and these allegations seem too insane to be real, there's no way that there's some pedo island. Like Alex Jones started talking about this, I think in like 1996. There's no way there's like a pedo island, that royals are involved. There's no way. Like the presidents, it's a spy novel. It's like a James Bond. Like, come on. No. But you should have listened. And we should have listened. We listened as much as we could. I mean, we've been covering Epstein for years here. But Virginia Roberts said this about Prince Andrew. And I truly believe she was killed because of it. Here we go.
First time in London, I was so young. Ghislaine woke me up in the morning and said, "You're going to meet a prince today." I didn't know at that point that I was going to be trafficked to that prince. And then that night, Prince Andrew came to her house in London, and we went out to Club Tramp. Prince Andrew got me alcohol. It was in the VIP section. I'm pretty sure it was vodka. Prince Andrew was like, "Let's dance together." And I was like, okay. And we leave Club Tramp, and I hop in the car with Ghislaine and Jeffrey, and Ghislaine said he's coming back to the house, and I want you to do for him what you do for Epstein. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that even royalty were involved.
The way Mike Benz framed this up last week on the show was that it's really hard for billionaires or really rich or famous people to just go to bars and pick up chicks. And that not all of them, but many of them, found this to be something that really helped get deals done inside of these circles. And Epstein realized that being surrounded by young, attractive women who could also have sex with these guys, because of course, you know, Bill Gates can't just go, I mean, I guess you could, but like, really, Bill Gates going to like go out to a bar and pick up a chick? Not advisable. His lawyers would probably tell him no. That this was like this was a offering. This was just one of the many services that Jeffrey Epstein provided. And we're now learning so many of these services that Jeffrey Epstein was providing. And then, you know, it also, of course, had the flip side. It's very, very convenient for Jeffrey Epstein that he could manipulate deals on the back end because he had the tapes of these people. There's no doubt that if that story is real, and I don't doubt that it is, that Virginia Roberts goes back, Prince Andrew has his way with her, and that it's all on tape somewhere. That there's a reason why Ghislaine Maxwell had a specific apartment. And you can see, I mean, this is well done. I don't know if it's directly in the script, but you can see now when we built this whole thing out that they were testing cameras. They were testing camera angles on the bed. There were all these emails with photos of beds and photos of cameras in different locations. And they were asking Jeffrey, like, how do you like this? How do you like this? Here's what it would look like if someone's sitting up in bed here. Here's what it would look like if someone's sitting up in bed here. And they're testing hidden cameras. Now there's straight up footage that has been released from Jeffrey Epstein's original home in Palm Beach of the hidden camera footage of Jeffrey Epstein. So if he has hidden cameras on himself in his own office, then, dude, what do you think? What else do you think he has? And there's photographs, obviously, of the hidden cameras all over his rooms. Guys, what I want is that email. I want the email of the hidden camera, please. I know it was used in. I know we used it in a video. Yeah, Danny has it in a video, and it's just a photo. It's a photo of the bed from the hidden camera, and they're asking Jeffrey about the angles. How do you like this? Inside of the release, and the DOJ has not. I think they've released maybe half of what they have on Jeffrey Epstein. They need to release all of what they have on Jeffrey Epstein. But I think that what they have and what they've released sex tapes that Jeffrey Epstein made of principals and individuals inside of these rooms. And so I have no doubt that they actually have footage of Prince Andrew doing this. This is not something that there's no way that they don't. And so will that be something that comes up here? Here it is. This is, I mean, it's too good, right? Jeffrey Epstein didn't run a blackmail operation. Oh, really? Really? Here we go. Here's the email. Are you okay with this layout? The bed in the room at the front. Note, if you're sitting up, you can still be on the entire screen. Please advise. Oh, it's just somebody asking him about his furniture. No, it's not. This is someone saying the purpose of this hidden camera is to capture what is going on inside of this bed, on top of this bed. And you know, kind of interesting. Hey Alex, I'm looking actually for the thread that I sent this morning on how it all worked with Larry Fink's son, Blackrock. It's like a perfect email that breaks down precisely. Yeah, here it is. Okay, thanks guys. This is the perfect email that breaks down precisely how this all worked. And this is probably why it's all happening. So in this email, Larry Fink, this is the Larry Fink of BlackRock, this guy who made the biggest hedge fund manager in the world, manages the most money on earth. His kid, Joshua Fink, is compromised by Epstein. It's amazing. So Epstein had his buddy that runs a modeling agency named Jean-Luc Brunel. And this modeling agency, these models were actually prostitutes. And these prostitutes would go and would compromise these powerful men, and then they'd kick all this information back to Jeffrey Epstein. You can see it here directly in the correspondence. So here's what happens. Joshua Fink, he's the son, he's obviously a mark, okay? He's the son of the biggest hedge fund manager in the world. He gets involved with a woman who'd been brought to the United States by a modeling agency controlled by Epstein. When Joshua Fink raised concerns about an invoice, presumably related to arranging the woman's continued stay in the U.S. or possibly something more compromising, he was sent a bill. So here's the son of the largest hedge fund manager, the guy who's like in charge of all of America's pensions, right? The BlackRock's in charge of all America's pensions. There are tens of millions. You might be one of them. You probably are one of them who like has your future controlled by this man, Larry Fink. And his son is banging an Epstein connected Eastern European model. And she is sending all of the information back to Epstein to blackmail him. Look at this. Joshua Fink raised concern about an invoice. The immediate response was to forward the entire matter directly to Jeffrey Epstein. The attached note also states that the woman has been sending all of her private conversations with Joshua Fink straight to Epstein himself. Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy. There it is. And that is how you do it. And so when the DOJ comes out and says there's no evidence of blackmail, bullshit. Sorry. It's just like, no, stop lying. Here's your evidence. There it is. Like on a silver platter. It's pretty obvious. So why do they kill Virginia Roberts? Because right now she would be the biggest booking in the world. She was the one who was firsthand witness to all of this. She would be on TV every single night. Everyone would be wanting to ask her questions about Prince Andrew. And she'd be singing like a songbird because she wrote books on this kind of stuff. A reminder that Virginia Roberts said she wasn't suicidal. Then she was hit by a bus in the Australian outback, one of the most remote places on earth. Then from her hospital bed, she said, they're going to kill me. And then she winds up dead of suicide in a barn. That is the Virginia Roberts story. So convenient. And then just a few months later, all the Epstein files drop. Remarkable. The father of Virginia Roberts was asked about Prince Andrew. He was on Piers Morgan's show. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
Did she ever talk to you about Prince Andrew before it became public knowledge?
Yes, a little. Yeah, she was there in London with Prince Andrew and Miss Maxwell.
Because one of my other guests here in the studio in London has produced photographs from the property where that infamous picture was taken of Virginia with Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell in the background, and says that it proves to her
you can't
that the picture must have been faked in some way. But do you have any doubt that Virginia was there at the time and had sex with Prince Andrew?
Personally, I don't have proof of it, but Virginia sent the original picture, so I know it wasn't faked, but the original picture of Prince Andrew and her with Ghislaine Maxwell in the background. So I know that's true, that she was there with him.
She showed you that picture, did you say?
It would have been the original. Yes. My mom had an 8x10.
And when did she first show you that?
Many years ago when it happened.
But before it became public knowledge?
Yes.
This is the wildest part of all of this. And I'm really excited to talk to Harry Cole from merry old England, who can give us sort of a read of what's happening on the ground. The Israeli government installed and maintained a security system at Epstein's apartment. Okay. All right. You all might have heard that Tucker Carlson was detained yesterday in Israel. Tucker says that he was detained and then interrogated. The Israeli government said that this is just something that is normal and not a big deal. We'll wait to see. I mean, I think that if it was normal, you should just release the footage, right? And nonetheless, this is not normal. This is insane. That a foreign government was running the full security and surveillance system inside of Epstein's apartment, which is, again, one of the, this is crazy, was one of the sites where all of these very prominent, important government officials, princes, presidents would return to. Here we go. Let's just read real quickly here. The Israeli government installed security equipment and controlled access to the Manhattan apartment building managed by convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, according to a set of emails released by the Department of Justice. The equipment was installed starting in 2016. The residence where the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak frequently stayed for stretches of time. The security operation at Ehud's apartment was in place for at least 2 years. Emails from the DOJ disclosure shows the officials from the Israeli permanent mission to the United Nations corresponded regularly with Epstein's staff regarding the security. The apartment was technically owned by a company connected to Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, who says his brother might not even be dead. He says that his brother definitely was killed in prison, but was effectively controlled by Jeffrey Epstein. Units in the building were frequently loaned out to Epstein's contacts and or clients and used to house underage models. The kind of models we were just talking about with Larry Fink, with Prince Andrew, and so on. Rafi Shlomo, then director of protective services for the Israeli mission in the United Nations, New York head of Ehud Barak's security, corresponded with Epstein employees who arranged meetings to discuss the security and coordinate installation of specialized surveillance equipment. Goodness. Shlomo personally controlled access to the apartments and the guests, and even conducted background checks on the cleaners under Epstein's employment. Under Israeli law, former prime ministers and other high-ranking officials typically receive security services when they leave office. According to the emails, Epstein personally approved the installation of equipment and authorized meetings between his staff and Israeli security. Ehud Barak and the Israeli mission and the United Nations refused to respond to questions or comments on this. Okay. Is that clear enough for you? Like what all this was? All right. Wishing for arrests here in America, nonetheless, we have an expert on British politics, on British culture, on the vibe of the nation right now, which is going to be very, very interesting. Harry Cole joining the show live right now. Harry, welcome to the program. It's an honor to have you. What a fascinating day. A day we're like living through history right now. It's been 400 years since a royal was arrested. What's happening?
Yeah, hi Benny. Thanks for having me. What a day, as you say. This was the first time a royal has been detained since 1647 and the arrest of King Charles I at the height of the English Civil War. Didn't go well for him, it has to be said. He ended up losing his head. I don't think we're going to see that quite happen for Prince Andrew, but he once famously said that he was incapable of sweating. But I'm pretty sure he'll be sweating now, as right now he is in a jail cell. It's hard to underplay. Look, we all talk about bombshell moments and big stories, but for the royal family, this is the most serious crisis, I would say, since the immediate aftermath of the death of Princess Diana in 1997, where it felt that the royals were completely out of touch with the mood of the nation. Or you have to go back to sort of 1936, when 1937, the abdication crisis, where the king stepped back over his affair with an American woman, Wallis Simpson, and the fallout from that. The king has, released a remarkable statement today, saying he is fully prepared to coordinate with law enforcement. His little brother has been a blight on that family for many, many years now. But at the end of the day, the problem that the institution of the monarchy has is that Andrew is still living, on the royal estate. He's being funded privately by King Charles from his private income, but at the end of the day, his private income does eventually lead back to the British public purse, the British taxpayer. So even if he doesn't get charged, the bar for misconduct in public office is a very high bar. I mean, I think the idea that Andrew will be able to continue living in Britain, really, I think is going to become a real topic of debate now, a real firestorm for the monarchy here.
Well, so wow, you think that he'll be in exile? You think he'll leave?
Well, I just think I mean, it's a bit like being candid. It's a bit like getting Al Capone on his tax returns. This one, it's for all the things that Andrew has been accused of, and all the images we're seeing coming out of the Epstein files of him cavorting with young women, straddling young women on, all of that thing, the allegations for Virginia Giuffre, as she eventually became, the settlement, the £12 million settlement that he paid, and the Epstein files, day in, day out, just revealing that he lied and lied and lied and lied throughout his long defense of his actions. I remember being on the phone 5-6 years ago when one of Prince Andrew's PR spin doctors was trying to convince me that the photograph of Virginia Giuffre with his arm around her was photoshopped. It was a fake. Now we have in the Epstein files Ghislaine Maxwell herself saying, I was aware of the photo. He was there. It is real. We have Jeffrey Epstein himself liaising with a New York Times journalist, not disputing the suggestion that Andrew had slept with Virginia. Yes, consentingly, but he had slept with her. Again, he's lied and lied and lied. And I just don't see how the public will tolerate this guy leeching for any longer on hard-earned taxpayers' cash.
So tell me, as Americans, we're fascinated with the royal family. We have a kindred blood, and we very much are a product of English law and English tradition. And so there's always been sort of this nostalgic love, in a way, for English culture. And the royal family has been, of course, at the center of English culture for as long as it has existed. And this seems like it could be potentially devastating for that institution. Can you talk me through perhaps some of the geopolitics of how tenuous this situation is when it comes to popular approval of the royal family?
Well, it's monarchy by consent, and you guys more than anything showed that if you don't like it, 250 years ago you whipped our asses and made that point pretty definitively. It is representation by consent. We are subjects, not citizens, and it is very. There is nothing really written in the British Constitution. We don't have a written constitution, so effectively it is a sea change in public support. I'm not saying we're anywhere near that yet, but it's probably the closest we've been in a long time to people thinking, well, who are these people? Why are we paying for them? Yes, they bring in billions of pounds of tourism every year, but there's a growing strand, and I really worry about the sort of younger generations who never knew Queen Elizabeth. She was such a rock, such a stalwart, the longest serving monarch since Elizabeth I, in the 1500s. There are people that live their entire lives with one steady rock, that one pillar that represented, sort of the country, the state. And now she's gone. And King Charles is very unwell. His son has got mixed opinions. He has a terrible relationship with his brother. Public opinion is quite divided about him. I do really worry that actually, as a monarchist, as a supporter of the monarchy, that actually we're entering a real generational shift where young people who never knew that continuity and that stability are thinking, well, who are these guys? What's the deal here? So I do really think that they need to. I don't know how they do it. I'm not saying I'm advising them on doing it, on what to do, and it's probably courtiers and princes and princesses and advisors are probably having this exact discussion now of how do you sort of relate? How do you get back on the front foot, and how do you make the case for the monarchy in the modern age when actually Prince Andrew is tarnishing it day in, day out with his lies, which I think is probably why you're seeing the king so open and transparently saying, yeah, we will work with law enforcement. I think they realize how serious this is.
Yeah, I'm like, man to man, I'm never gonna forgive you guys for making Meghan Markle famous. I mean, like,
hey, you guys keep her. It's okay,
bro. She should be in a different timeline. She should be a cocktail waitress, but she's now, now we have to read articles about and listen to her podcast and watch her Netflix shows, and it's like,
and make her. Did you see her cheese board?
This is revenge. This is revenge. This is revenge. This is 250 years in the making. Evil revenge. Okay, so I mean, I'm not anti-monarchy, right? I suppose, right? Like, as far as an institution, I'm not anti-monarchy, and but this does tend to ask, you're right, like an entirely younger group of people that just see like kind of the cringe stuff. Like Prince Harry was on Colbert, I think, the other night, and it was so hard to watch, and it was grotesque. And they're like simping for their podcasts and stuff. It's become kind of gross, honestly. There's nothing regal about it. In fact, and then with Prince Andrew here, I mean, I guess this is my big question is, do you think, oh man, this is so cringe Hallmark movie edition. Like this is what, you're exactly right. Let's pop this up. This is what young people, if this is what young people see as like being royal, if they accelerate this into some of the more lurid charges, and right before you hopped on, we were talking about how it's pretty obvious that somewhere it really does exist, the hard evidence of some major crimes by these men. They might not ever release the footage, but clearly that was the operation. Do you think that it will accelerate into that potentially, that it might spiral into, like, did Prince Andrew, as his friends say, and I'm using their language, F underage girls?
I mean, whether we ever get to the bottom of what happened, at the end of the day, they paid off Virginia Giuffre. They paid her £12 million. The king stripped him of his, not only his dukedom, but his actual princedom, if for want of a better word. We're only seeing 3.5 million of the Epstein files at the moment. It remains to be seen how many more of them we see, but you do wonder how long this is going to go. When they marched through the division lobbies of Congress and voted to release this, and President Trump signed the Epstein Transparency Act, no one quite realized, I think these President Trump's enemies would hope it would shake him up, but the bombshell it's launched across the globe, no more so than in Britain, I think is quite unprecedented. I think we are a long way from the end of this story, and it's been going now since 2006-7. I think there's a lot more to come, and I think actually, as a congressperson was saying earlier, if you can level a prince, if you can see a prince in a jail cell, I mean, basically everyone's untouchable. End of the month, we've got the testimony of Bill Clinton, a former president, dragged before, Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, presidential runner, dragged before Congress to testify. And you just know someone's going to say, did you kill Jeffrey Epstein? Did you, Bill, have sex with underage girls? What did you do? This is going to be such a, I don't think people realize what a sort of humbling moment it is for global elites at this moment. And when they voted for that act, I don't think in their wildest dreams they realized quite how big this was going to be. And you can see why some people fought tooth and nail to stop this happening. And I get a little misty-eyed now I've moved to America about the old country sometimes. But at the end of the day, who's in jail for this stuff? A Brit, Ghislaine Maxwell, whose reputation's in tatters, a prince, a British prince, whose ambassador had to resign over this, the British ambassador, whose government almost fell 10 days ago because of their link, because of stuff that was revealed in the Epstein files, the British government. There is a level of accountability that we have in Britain, I think, that actually we should still be proud of. There is still some honor amongst thieves. There is still, people can still be humbled in a way that actually around the world, people seem to be getting away with stuff that actually they probably shouldn't be.
That's a wonderful point. I love that point. And we've been calling for that. Like, I think that Bill Gates and Bill Clinton should be sweating bullets. If they can do this to a prince, they can do it to anyone. We've been repulsed generally by these photos of Ghislaine Maxwell sitting on the throne. It's like, as a proud monarchist.
With Kevin Spacey there, look at that.
That's right. What a shot. I'm sure they say this.
you were talking about Epstein's apartment earlier and the CCTV. I mean, did the CCTV installed by the Israeli government capture the giant oil painting of Bill Clinton wearing a dress and high heels? I mean, what the hell is going on there?
What the hell is going on? Okay, so I do have a question for you about So you're going on, Harry, about like how powerful people can be held into account in England and based on English law, which of course is what we base our law on, and so we're thankful for that. However, there are major gaps in that law. The roving Pakistani rape gangs and grooming gangs seem to not be facing the same kind of punishment that even the royal family faces, and not be given the same kind of scrutiny. I know Keir Starmer has been drawn up on this controversy. I don't pretend to know it inside and out. We have pulled some data that show this pretty demonstrable levels of Pakistani and Muslim grooming and rape gangs. It's been proven. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of victims of this. And the authorities turn a blind eye. So this seems like that nobody is above the law. Well, actually, yeah, you're putting like these criminal migrants above the law for power. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're spot on. I mean, there's a late journalist, a guy called Andrew Norfolk, who worked for the Times newspaper, and he told this anecdote once about he was driving down the freeway, and he heard a report saying that 6 men had been charged or found guilty. Sorry, 6 men had been found guilty in a northern court, a northern part of England, and he said before he even knew it. Before he even heard their names, he knew what their names were going to sound like, right? And then he started to piece together the data. And it wasn't that people weren't getting charged and arrested and imprisoned. They were. But over the course of sort of 15, 20 years, there was a obviously serious pattern emerge within the South Asian community that no one had really sort of put together. And it wasn't for want of trying. What's emerged is people were trying to raise this. And they were told to shut up and stop being racist or not risk community tensions. Or, if this gets out, the entire community will go up in flames and there'll be race riots. And so it was worse than sort of being ignored. It was actively suppressed. And though large parts of the media were reporting on this, it wasn't sort of given the sort of national scandal status for basically political correctness and reasons of celebrating our wonderful multicultural diverse existence. And then Elon Musk came along like last Christmas, 2 Christmases ago, and in one of that period between Christmas and New Year is always a sort of dead zone in the news, right? And he just started tweeting about this, and I think it takes having got a little misty-eyed about Britain earlier, sometimes it takes an outsider to be the kid in the Emperor's New Clothes and say, what the hell is going on here? And point that finger. And Elon Musk was that person who just said, hang on, you guys still haven't really had a sort of moment of national reckoning about this scandal. And it takes an outsider to sort of go, what the hell? And since then, the Labour government, and they have a sort of, the Labour Party, the left of Britain, sort of heavily invested in this story because they were running the local authorities in a lot of these towns. I mean, the similarities between sort of scandals involving Minnesota and the like are very similar. You got Labour-led town councils and city councils, and the people that were running those and the local authorities were all Labour members. And actually, the Labour Party were sort of accused of trying to suppress this because they knew the implications of it, because they ran large parts of deindustrialized northern Britain where this scandal really took hold. And eventually they were dragged kicking and screaming into a public inquiry, which is still trying to get off the ground. They've barely found someone who can share it. That's going to be, they're trying to find an ex-judge or a former judge, but there's so many different factors involved in this that it's going to take years and years to get justice. I think you're right. It is a shameful episode, and one that really just taps into all of the problems facing the West at the moment. Of actually, the implications of mass migration, the implications of cultural change and societal change over 40 years, the sort of boiled frog theory that actually things change, but they change at such a pace that actually suddenly it takes someone to look around and go, hang on, what's happened here? We've been, this doesn't look like our country. This doesn't look like our culture. We suddenly are being, suddenly the people are being repressed in a way that they weren't in their own communities. And it's a real scandal that sort of encapsulates that exact problem. The idea that, you know, we had to turn a blind eye to serious wrongdoing for the greater good of the community, for the great celebration of multiculturalism and diversity. And I hope we're waking up in the West in time to that. You certainly are in America. They certainly are beginning to in Australia now. They certainly are beginning to in France. I mean, I think France might be a little bit further down the line and perhaps a little further lost than some countries, but they're certainly waking up to it now. And even Germany, that rightly spent 100 years sort of self-flagellating and flogging itself culturally, as saying, hang on, we've gone a little bit too far here. So it's you know, you're spot on to bring it up. It's the sort of flip side of the powerless, finally finding a voice.
So Russell Brand and Prince Andrew can get charged, and then but you know, Muhammad. And
well, there are a lot of people have been brought to the book. That's how this sort of scandal sort of first broke, because they suddenly realized that the people that were being convicted and charged all had a similar identity, were all South Asian men. They were all first or second generation Pakistani migrants. The patterns were emerged. So people have gone to jail, but who hasn't been brought to account are the cops who could turn a blind eye, the social workers who told these women they were sluts and they were drunk and should shut up. Or told them that they for the greater good, for community cohesions, they should keep quiet. No one in position of authority has been brought to the book. That's where the scandal is. Yes, these perpetrators are rotting in jail cells. A lot of them have been deported. A lot of them haven't. But it's the people who are in positions of authority that, frankly, people would, there are people calling for stringing them up, frankly.
Wasn't Keir Starmer, wasn't he directly involved in the turning of the blind eye? I mean,
well, he was the director of public prosecutions for a long time. He was the country's chief prosecutor. He, at the end of the day, is a lawyer, not a politician, which is why he's in so much trouble. And he's historically the most unpopular prime minister since they invented political polling, which takes some doing, given some of the shit that we've been through the last 20 years in Britain. Excuse my language. I mean, so he's always been slightly sort of linked to, he has locked up pedophiles. He did lock up terrorists, but he also had a long checkered legal career before, where he was defending one of the 9/11 co-conspirators. He was involved in all sorts of sort of human rights wrong-uns, getting them off on technicalities and sparing them the rope in various former British colonies around the world. So he has a checkered legal career. I think it would be unfair, and I'm probably one of his harshest critics, to be unfair to entirely blame him for this. But I think he's part of that culture. He is the embodiment of the legal establishment that, we judges know best, politicians are right, public can shut up. He's the embodiment of that sort of culture that has led to the state that Britain's found itself in on that particular scandal.
So I'm asking you these questions as a massive setup for something that we have been quite interested in, which is Rupert Lowe's thermonuclear viral ad. You list 40 million, Harry. 40 million views? I've never seen an ad so viral. I mean, you'd have to find probably the most viral ads of the 2024 election, which was bananas here in our country, to hit these kind of numbers. And this is a guy that most Americans had never heard of. And he's just kind of like a doddering old farmer. 40 million views on this, announcing many of the things that you just talked about, which is deportations and lack of cultural cohesion and restoring Britain. And what do you think of this movement? And
it's interesting.
Is it real? And is this going to work?
I know Rupert. I like him. He's good company. He's a great guy. I do think he's not necessarily perhaps a team player, which is why he's sort of gone out on a limb and launched this movement. He's very close with Elon. I think those 40 million views, I'd be fascinated to see a breakdown of how many of those views were actually in Britain. There was a poll out last week, I think, that showed less than 3% of the British public could identify who this guy was. He was a former ally of Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform, who is, if the general election was to be held in the United Kingdom tomorrow, almost certainly would be the Prime Minister. He was the guy that led the charge over 20, 30 years to get Britain out of the EU. They were former colleagues. They were both in the same party. They had a big dust up over over policy and personality, I think. So Rupert's gone out on a limb, and he's launched this thing. How real it is, I don't know. Reform are currently are leading the opinion polls. They have a very, very good shot at blowing apart the two-party system for the first time in living memory. There's an opportunity for someone that's not a Labour or not a Conservative to be the Prime Minister, and that is Nigel Farage and Reform. Reform have taken they've taken steps to sort of kick out actual racists from the party, fringes, much like the sort of MAGA movement had to distance themselves from the really the genuinely wrong and fringes. So there are some disgruntled people. I'm not saying Rupert is one of these people, but there are disgruntled supporters of the sort of the cause that have been kicked out for their more hardline views and racism. They were sort of congregating around the fringes. Look, I like Rupert. I just think I don't know how productive it's going to be, and could it be counterproductive to have a split on the right, where actually broadly 99% of the things he wants, he agrees with Nigel Farage on. There's a real opportunity in Britain right now to do something different, to blow things up, to completely, Britain's fed up with the Tories and fed up the Conservatives. They had 14 years to fix all this stuff. What do? They let in 1 million migrants a year. What is, the Labour Party, as I said, the historically unpopular government, same old Labour, same old lefties, promise the world, promise change, come in, whack up massive great amount of tax and get engulfed in sleaze scandals day in, day out. There's an opportunity in Britain to do something different, and the right generally is always its own worst enemy, much like the sort of hard left in a way. The splits and the fallouts and the personalities. Actually, I'd say it's time to hunker down and everyone fire in the same direction rather than fire at each other, because you start firing at each other, you're just shooting your own feet.
Yes. Okay. Well, I loved the message. I mean,
don't get me wrong. It was
it's always curious. You get every once in a while you get a banger out of France and you get a banger out of England, and we're curious about these things. Much like it's fun to watch American politics from abroad, right?
Certainly.
Not have to worry about getting hit with any of the fodder. It's I can tell you it is sometimes exhausting to be right in the middle of all of it and to have imagine. To have a family and real consequences. Everyone else could just be a spectator sport. It's fun to watch. Trump, Kamala, Biden falling on his ass. It's so funny to the rest of the world, but us, it's real.
It's been a roller coaster. It's great. It's the greatest show. It's the greatest show on earth. And congratulations, I hear, in order. Talking of your family, congratulations are in order. I hear.
Thank you.
Another one on the way, right?
Thank you. That's right. More Americans, more Christians.
Just what the world needs. More Americans.
We wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have the problem if more people took that frame. Right?
Exactly the same problem in the UK. Declining birth rate. If it wasn't for mass migration, we would be going backwards. The only thing that keeping the British population growing is immigration, and those people are not necessarily, traditional Brits.
It's a whole different conversation to have, and we don't have the time to have it. But I'd love to actually have that conversation
anytime.
Which is like, why does our governments hate its native populations having children? Why can't our governments incentivize more children and more family creation? And that does seem to be the core issue here, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the tax system should be used in efficient ways. I think is it Hungary or Poland? I think one of the Eastern European countries that incentivizes people to have more children directly through the tax system. The more kids you have, the less income tax you pay.
Yes, that's right. Or no income tax. That's right. I would love to see it. Harry, thank you so much. I did actually. Harry Cole Saves the West. Look at this. There
it is.
Wonderful. He's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Also a wonderful YouTube show. You should subscribe to it as well. Here it is up on screen.
There it is.
And so,
thanks, Benny.
Yeah. So please go follow Harry and his wonderful reporting. And you can catch me on the show every once in a while. Thank you, Harry.
You're always welcome. See you soon.
All right.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can report to you that, one, that was just fascinating and very interesting to talk to. I always love speaking with Harry Cole. Two, I hate to tell you this, but we've been having trouble efforting, is what they call it in the business, Brandon Herrera. We really wanted to speak with him. I went long with Harry, and I loved chatting with him. I could have gone to another 3 hours. But Brandon Herrera, who again is a candidate whom we support running in Texas for Congress, also, of course, a legend in the 2A community. We had very difficult time. Our producers are having a very difficult time connecting with him and getting him on the show. Liz Croken, however, is being set up. I did want to just to like shout out Brandon, because I know this is like a popular demand and people want him on the program and have asked to have him on the program. Here is his social media channel. Here is his X account. He has 700,000 subscribers on X. Here's his campaign website as well. So we'll hope to rebook Brandon. We're sorry that he can't be live with us this morning. We do a live show. Unlike so many other people in this business, we actually do our show literally live instead of pre-taped. I think it's more fun, and I think it allows us to respond in real time to the changing world around us. Speaking of, there is the Global Peace Board, the Board of Peace, speaking right now. We're not gonna it is live, so we'll just pop it up and show you. It's kind of a funny little shot here, right? That's Trump trying to create his own United Nations, because that's what we need. Fine, whatever. But they're doing this right now, and it's fine. You know, there's a giant Institute of Peace, it's called, in Washington, D.C., this massive CIA boondoggle. That's where they're doing this little presentation today. J.D. Vance is there, Marco Rubio is there, President Trump is there, as are the heads of many, many other governments who are now taking their turns speaking. So Donald Trump, again, trying to recreate the world. And I hate the United Nations. I wish it could be pushed into the East River. I think the whole building should be condemned. They clearly tried to sabotage and harm President Trump by turning off his escalator. Remember that? It's like a horrible scandal. It should have been a far bigger scandal. Trump gets on the escalator and they shut it off. And then they found out that it was staff at the United Nations that were planning on doing this. Nobody followed up on it. Too much news right now, man. Anyway, that's what's happening. And it looks like some of these guys might eat some pita. We had Greek food the other night at our house. We did have hummus. Some of these guys eat hummus and pita. I don't know. I don't know. They're gonna come cancel me for that? I don't know, man. Cancel me for this. You won't. Masa chips. If you have pita on your table, if you have hummus on your table, then a masa chip would be a great way to eat it. I say this because if you come to dinner at my house, you're going to get some. Okay? If you work for me, you're going to get some. If you're my friend, you're going to get some. In fact, I don't ever, my wife and I have been together for so long. We've been married for 10 years this year, actually. She got a box of masa chips, and she brought it to our friends for a Christmas present. Like, here's our box. Here's a giant box of masa chips. And I got angry. Don't you dare. We let him have the box. I'm still bitter about it, if you can't tell. That's because masa chips are the only available snacky item in my house. I love snacking. Those chips are delicious. They're good for you. My wife approves. My wife is a nurse. She says, well, this is exactly the kind of chip that you should be eating. Has 3 ingredients: salt and corn and beef tallow, and you just feel good after eating them. You don't feel like you've eaten, like you've been drinking gasoline, you know? There's none of that chemical taste to it. It's good for you, and it's just like the way that you're gonna change America. You have to not feed people poisons, and some of this stuff is literal poison. It is. So anyway, masa chips, man. They come in a lot of different flavors. They're very satisfying, and you can pick them up today at your local Sprouts Market. They're available nationwide. Or you could go to masachips.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 25% off. Click the link in the video description of the QR code and claim your delicious offer. Again, that's massachips.com/Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting we got Liz Croken joining the program. Checking in with my producers if we're set and ready. Okay. I think she'll have plenty to say on this topic and many more. Tucker Carlson claims he was detained in Israeli airport. We got a couple of Israel stories in the deck today. So this is not good. Look, we'll see who comes out on top here. I got a take on this. We looked into it last night. So there's two sides of this. There's the Tucker Carlson calling the Daily Mail and saying that the Israeli government detained him. Now, why was Tucker in Israel? Tucker Carlson went to Israel. Please show the photo. Because he was interviewing Mike Huckabee, which we are completely in favor of. Mike Huckabee recently allowed Jonathan Pollard into the U.S. Embassy. Jonathan Pollard is the worst spy in American history, the biggest anti-American spy in history. Jonathan Pollard stole millions of classified documents. He had a position at the Pentagon. He gave them to Israel. And then he was given a hero's welcome when he fled to Israel. So he's completely evil. Makes you kind of wonder, like, greatest ally kind of stuff? Okay. Don't think so, at least on this scenario. And it's leading a lot of people to really question that writ large. And that's a much longer and bigger conversation. And so that's sort of the backdrop of why Tucker Carlson went to Israel. He went there in order to confront the ambassador, Mike Huckabee, who, I've known for a long time. His daughter's regularly on the show. I got nothing, I guess, personally against him. Mike Huckabee has made some, he's very much the definition of a Christian Zionist. This is something that Tucker Carlson is vehemently against. And nobody likes dual loyalties, and me chiefly among them. And Mike Huckabee has, regularly and consistently expressed, obviously, his loyalty to the state of Israel. And he's doing so as American ambassador, welcoming spies that harmed America into the U.S. Embassy and giving them meetings. It seems immoral. It seems like something that should get somebody fired. And Tucker Carlson's been doing some great research on the way that Christians are treated in Israel. So that's the reason why he went to interview Mike Huckabee. He went to the airport. Tucker Carlson reportedly never even left the airport. You can see here in the photo, you can see the security vans there. Presumably that's to bring the ambassador to Tucker Carlson for a sit-down interview. And then Tucker Carlson said that Israeli forces, government forces, pulled him into a private room, took his passport, and demanded to know what he asked the ambassador about. Which should be a big no-no. From my perspective, freedom of speech and so on, it is a U.S. citizen interviewing an American ambassador. You have a right to do this no matter what country you're in. And has the potential to be this has potential to really be like a huge national story and spiral out of control quite quickly. So that's what Tucker says. The Israeli government says, of course, that this was just standard protocol, that it was all very polite. Tucker Carlson was at a private airport. It was just a private little room, and that they do this all the time when people are going into and out of the country. So multiple people, including former prime ministers, calling Tucker Carlson and I quote, chicken shit. Naftali Bennett did this. So, my request is release the footage. Release the footage of what's happening. Of course, there's cameras everywhere. So show what happened. If Tucker's a liar, you could prove that very easily by just releasing the airport footage. If he's not, then it's a really bad thing to do to someone. Because, of course, Tucker has every right to interview a U.S. ambassador inside of an international terminal there and not be harassed for it. So I guess we'll see. I suppose we'll see. Here's Tucker Carlson. I would encourage you to watch this. I'm sort of I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I thought this one was quite fascinating. The way that Christians are treated in Israel. Tucker Carlson interviewing some of the Christians from Christ's birth town. So everyone should care about this. Everyone should care about it. And if Tucker says he's detained and questioned by the Israeli government, I care about that a lot. I guess we'll see. And I'm very interested in see what he has to say to Mike Huckabee. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Liz Croken, now set. Total legend. Somebody who, and I know I've only used this title for Alex Jones when it comes to this kind of stuff. I say Alex Jones is a prophet. He's like a modern day prophet. Alex Jones called 9/11. Alex Jones is called Epstein Island. Joe Rogan just went on some long, like, doughy tirade, not tirade, but like glaze job of Alex Jones saying that he warned him about Epstein Island in 1996. How do you even know about this in 1996? We don't even like the internet in 1996, like barely. We didn't have cell phones in 1996. And Alex Jones was like out here like preaching this stuff. Liz Croken, also somebody who'd be a bit of a prophetess. What do I mean by that? It's just the kind of people that like have these spiritual instincts that can sense these things long before anybody else. I just sort of like pick up on the breadcrumb trail or see what darkness is trying to shroud in secrecy. Liz has that gift. She's been on the show before. She kind of reminds me of Alex Jones in that regard. But anyway, it's an honor to speak with her. Liz Croken, live now. Liz, you just write about these things. It's been wild to see. Nobody suffered more for saying true things about our current news environment with Jeffrey Epstein than you.
Probably true, yes.
Yes. I mean, truly, yeah. And I think you and maybe Virginia Roberts or whatever.
Who's now dead.
Right. That's right. Like, you know.
Geez.
Right. Who, of course, like would probably, we early in the show, we said that she would be the top booking today. Prince Andrew was arrested. Of course, she would be like the number one person that you'd want on your show to talk about this stuff. And she's dead. So it's like extremely convenient.
Right. And she did more, in my opinion, to not just expose Prince Andrew, but to expose several high profile people in Jeffrey Epstein's ring who were co-conspirators or clients, and specifically with Virginia Giuffre. So she started calling out Prince Andrew many years ago, and she's been involved in many civil lawsuits to take down several of Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators, and a lot of the information from those cases have come out. So we did learn about what Prince Andrew did to her and what other co-conspirators did to her through these lawsuits over the years. But where we really learned a lot of information, more information about the disgraced Prince, is from her book, Nobody's Girl, which came out earlier this year. And in that book, she revealed more bombshells about Prince Andrew that had not been revealed before. And one of the most disturbing things that she revealed in her book was that she was forced to be in this, she called it an orgy, but I would call it a gang rape because she was raped. So she was forced to be in this gang rape situation where she was raped by Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein. And she says that there were also 8 girls that were raped in this gang rape. And she implies that the girls were underage. And here's something that's even more concerning. She said several of the girls didn't even speak English. They spoke like very little to no broken English. So who are these girls, you know, going to the islands that can barely speak any English? Like, where are they coming from? Why are there girls that can't even speak English hanging out, you know, on the island with all these satanic pedophiles? So that is something new that we learned from Virginia Giuffre's book. But then, of course, you know, she's been exposing him for years. She released the photo of her and Prince Andrew, and initially they denied it. They claimed that you know, that wasn't him. And then, ironically, I'm sure you remember this. Remember his excuse about, you know, trying to claim that wasn't him in the photo and he wasn't really with Virginia Giuffre the night that she claimed that he raped her. He tried to say that he was at the Pizza Express. That was his alibi for, you know, not being with Virginia Giuffre. And the irony of that, Benny, now that we know, I should say not we, now that because you knew, I knew, you've had me on before, long before anyone else did. Now that the world knows that Pizzagate is real, always has been real. And furthermore, these satanic pedophiles use pizza as a pedophile code word. So when he used a pizza restaurant as his excuse, as his alibi, which was BS as to why he wasn't with Virginia Giuffre when she claimed that, she was with him and he would sexually assaulted her. Do you think that might have been his way of mocking her and the masses?
Yes. I mean, I would like to ask, when it comes to Virginia Giuffre, what are some of the perhaps things that you could elucidate for us that would point to potentially higher charges here? I think that's the question. So we put up all of the evidence of Prince Andrew effectively insider trading, and that's pretty obvious in the emails. He's giving classified information to the world's foremost pederast. He's excited to share stock trading tips, potential business moves. He's a trade envoy, so he has insider knowledge of this stuff. It's insider trading, right? And Jeffrey Epstein did an enormous amount of that. Jeffrey Epstein famously said he wouldn't buy a stock unless he had inside information about what was going to happen with that company. And so this is something that he was using to get filthy rich, as part of where some of his fortune comes from. I think they have Prince Andrew dead to rights on you were abusing your position and classified information. What if they accelerated those charges? And you're just such a subject matter expert on this. Where would you see it going if they actually could accelerate those charges? The one thing that we brought up earlier in the show, Liz, is that Israeli security was installed and monitoring cameras in Jeffrey Epstein's apartments. You can see in the emails that they were setting up cameras on the beds and photographing the beds. The DOJ has straight up released pornographic videos. They blacked everything out, but that were clearly filmed surreptitiously. The statement that this is not a blackmail operation is insane and ludicrous at this point.
Yeah.
Do you believe, and it's a two-part question, do you believe they have hard evidence of Prince Andrew and, these crimes? And, do you think that will be what happens next? Do you think they'll accelerate these charges?
Yeah, I do. So I'll get to Israel Mossad in a second. But let me start with this. So he was arrested for misconduct in office, which, by the way, can hold up to a life sentence in prison. Like, that could be the punishment, just for that alone. But specifically, he was arrested because he shared allegedly confidential government information with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that's very interesting and intriguing to me because, as you and I know, Jeffrey Epstein was running a blackmail intelligence operation. He was working with Mossad, or was just flat out Mossad, or maybe Mossad was working for him. We also know that he was working with the CIA. The reason why I think this is interesting is because this, I believe, is Pandora's box that is about to be opened, because this investigation could prove that Jeffrey Epstein, without a shadow of a doubt, was indeed an intelligence asset. And that's why he was trying to get, state secrets from the UK, because he was running an intelligence operation. I will add that there have been people for years that have talked about how Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, or was working for Mossad, or basically is Mossad. And there are people that have even gone on the record and they have said that Jeffrey Epstein used to brag about how he basically had Prince Andrew completely blackmailed. And he bragged about how he was giving all the information he got from Prince Andrew to Mossad. So that would be, obviously, you would think that would be a huge problem with the UK and their government. And he even used to say that his get with Prince Andrew, he used to refer to it as the Super Bowl trophy, because getting someone from the royal family to be blackmailed and compromised, and to be also getting potentially state secrets on their country from that person, would be a Super Bowl trophy for someone running an intelligence operation for a foreign country. And that would be, of course, Jeffrey Epstein. So that is my opinion on that. And then what was your other question that you asked?
Yeah, do you think they're going, so they have the compromise. Do you think that the charges will include some of these allegations when it comes to Virginia Giuffre?
Oh, right.
Do you think that they're going to actually go all the way and charge him for these sexual crimes?
I do. I see. I think that some people might be frustrated because, hello, if anything, this man should be getting arrested for raping children. Hello, like you would think that would be the crime that they focus on. I do think that they will get to that, and I do believe that there's other law enforcement, including in our own country and in other countries, because there are other countries doing investigations into Epstein's co-conspirators, such as France, believe it or not. But I do think that this will lead to that eventually. I do believe that Virginia Giuffre pretty much laid out the evidence that he, raped her. And I do believe that there are other foreign governments that do have the evidence of him raping people, perhaps Virginia Giuffre as well, and perhaps maybe even these other girls that couldn't speak English on the island. So I do think that this will lead to that. But I like that this is what they're focusing on, because this is something that hasn't been focused on before. The fact that they're focusing on him potentially selling UK's state secrets to someone working for another foreign government, being Israel's Mossad, that's a big problem. And, all the shows out there trying to say that he wasn't Mossad, or he had no connections to Mossad, or no connections to the CIA. Well, that's going to get debunked real quickly, hopefully quicker than they try to say Pizzagate wasn't real.
What about the royal family? I mean, can you just, I don't know if, I'm not sure if you're a royal family expert, but this seems to be a really tough, we had a royal family expert, kind of a monarchist on earlier. His name is Harry Cole. He's a great dude. But this seems to play into some of the darker arts around royal family theories and what this institution is really about.
Well, that's the thing, you have King Charles out there, and he's like, we need the law to take its course, and he's advocating for justice, if he is convicted and proven to be guilty. But, I would argue that Prince Andrew is not alone in terms of members of the royal family who are involved in not just criminal behavior, but I would argue the rape, torture, and trafficking of children. You have to remember that Prince Andrew, he brought not only Jeffrey Epstein, but Ghislaine Maxwell, like all over the royal family's properties in the UK. I mean, there's even a photograph of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein at the Queen's lodge from years ago. So it was both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell that appears to have all kinds of access to the royal family. And there's them. That's not at the lodge. That is
the throne.
That's just the throne. No big deal.
The throne in Buckingham Palace. The throne in Buckingham Palace, and Ghislaine Maxwell's sitting on it.
Buckingham Palace. But then, so you have, and that's Kevin Spacey. So, another alleged pedophile who's been someone that's been accused of, raping children and, male adults by several people who all just happen to die or commit suicide, like Jeffrey Epstein. But, I believe that the royal family, there's many members that are guilty. It's not just Prince Andrew. Maybe he was just the sloppy one, or the one that was dumb enough to get, caught. But I do believe there are many other, unfortunately, that are implicated. And I also just want to take the time to point out that who else was the royal family very tight with and very close with for years, to the point that I believe that they, what's it called when they honor him? They give you the
state funeral?
No, when they give you the what's it called when they in the UK when they give you that special title? I'm drawing a blank on what it's called. Whatever. So
sure, a knighthood.
That's it. Yes, there. Yeah. So knighthood. I believe they knighted Jimmy Savile. Do you remember Jimmy Savile?
Yes.
That guy was a serial pedophile who raped hundreds of children. He raped, abused hundreds of children. He allegedly murdered people too. He was very close to the royal family. He was given knighthood. This was someone that was a BBC star, very close to the royal family. He may have been even a worse pedophile than Jeffrey Epstein. So what we see with the royal family is that they have a serious problem being connected to a lot of people who are flat out pedophiles and are sex traffickers. And I do not think it's just Prince Andrew who is guilty.
Well, this guy's a monster. I mean, the Jimmy Savile story is so dark. It's so evil.
Did you know that he used to have special access at the Children's Hospital in the UK? And he was busted, not just molesting children there, but also trying to have sex with dead bodies. Benny, these are the kinds of people we're dealing with. And
Yes.
you know, as you've been reporting and as you read in the Epstein files, you know, which I've been saying for years, is that the stuff that these co-conspirators and clients of Jeffrey Epstein were doing goes, believe it or not, way beyond the raping and trafficking of children. They were torturing children. They were engaging in cannibalism. They were committing satanic ritualistic abuse on these children. Human hunting parties. There's been stories of human hunting parties, particularly, by the way, in the UK for years. A lot of people now are digging up old testimony from survivors, including children, that said that they were victims of not just satanic ritualistic abuse, but human hunting parties. I mean, this is... this rabbit hole is deep, and unfortunately it's just going to get worse and worse, but the truth is coming out, and that is a good thing. And I firmly believe that we will see justice for these people. And what happened today is a very huge and positive step in the right direction. And also, I think it's really good for Trump's administration and the DOJ, because if the UK, that's been protecting these Muslim rape gangs, is now, you know, actually pursuing justice for a very high profile client of Jeffrey Epstein who was raping children and Virginia Giuffre, well, that, guess what? That makes our country look really bad. If we don't do anything, it's going to make President Trump's administration look really bad if he doesn't do anything. And so this is putting amazing pressure on President Trump and his DOJ, pressure that's needed. And I do have faith that they will pursue justice for Epstein's co-conspirators here in the United States as well. So
a couple of things. One, you're an expert on code words, and you brought up Pizzagate, and many people have been looking at sort of the let's go out for pizza and grape soda. This is something that was constant and ubiquitous in the Epstein emails. It's very strange. And of course, used in a manner that you would, you know, never say it. I think it was his doctor that he was speaking with, you know, is constantly obsessed with going for pizza and grape soda, and no one can know. It'll be our little secret. Like, it's very creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Also the jerky stuff. Like, I just wanted to get your breakdown of this, like these code words. People have been quite interested in that, and get your, you know, your expert's take on it.
Right. So when the Podesta emails came out in 2016, which was the crux of what Pizzagate was about, because in those emails, they were using a ton of code words, and the main one was pizza, and they were using it in a context that does not apply to food. And so pizza is a pedophile code word. It references a child or it references child porn. That's been known for a very long time. Actually, I think pizza has been used as a pedophile code word. I found evidence of it being used as a pedophile code word going back to the late 80s. But so there's other code words as well. So there were code words in the Podesta emails, such as the walnut sauce and like pizza, like map and hot dogs and other things. And then fast forward to the Epstein files, which a lot of these emails came out, or I'm sorry, were sent after the Podesta emails came out. And we do see some of the same code words, such as pizza, and again, used in a context that does not apply to food. And also a lot of these emails are very sexual in nature. So if you really were just talking about pizza, like you wouldn't be talking about your libido or like, you know, Epstein eating Viagra, like that doesn't make sense. But what I noticed is that there's new code words in the Epstein emails. And it's my opinion that they started using new code words, which they do. Pedophiles are known for doing this. They are known for changing the code words, or a code word can mean one thing in one region, but in a different region has a little bit of a different definition, but they're still pedophile code words. But what I learned with the Epstein emails is that there are new code words. They're using new code words. And it's my opinion that because pizza became a pretty wide known code word after the Podesta emails came out in 2016, that I think they started coming up with new code words. And actually through the years before the Epstein emails came out, I started tracking all these like high profile celebrities and politicians that I knew were pedophiles, and like paying really close attention to their social media pages and whatnot. And I believe that a lot of them were starting to use new code words, because they used to use pizza all the time openly, even on their social media. And one word that I also noticed that they were using a lot that didn't seem to be in the context of food was avocados. So I think because Pizzagate kind of opened the floodgates on pizza being a code word back in 2016, even though the mainstream media didn't acknowledge it, they wised up and realized, okay, now we have to use new code words, because the world's starting to catch on. So that's why we see the new ones like jerky and grape soda. We can't know for sure what each code word means. Like, grape soda, some people think that it's a reference to adrenochrome. Jerky, people believe that's a reference to human meat and them, the fact that they're cannibals and they're eating children, which yes, they are. Literally, they are eating children in addition to raping them and sacrificially murdering them and torturing them. So, but yeah, at least people now know that they are using code words, and a lot of those code words are food words.
Yeah. There's one jerky email where he goes, I would really like to learn more jerky recipes at my friend's restaurant, Cannibal. What? Like,
Yeah.
I'm somewhat paraphrasing it, but I think I got it almost perfectly. Look, he's a new restaurant called Cannibal. Let's get beef jerky. Oh, okay. It's like, great. You guys are you're so smart.
I know, so slick. Well, and there was another email where Jeffrey Epstein made a comment about, him having an upset stomach, and someone asked, was it the food you ate? And then he made a comment about, it being normal food, not jerky. So is jerky, like beef jerky, is that not normal food? Or well, if it's human meat, it wouldn't be normal food, of course. So yeah, there's a lot of evidence proving that they are indeed cannibals. And, a lot of these celebrities just openly admit to being cannibals. Like, some have just openly said that they're cannibals. Chrissy Teigen has said more than once that she would like to eat human meat and thinks it's hilarious and talks about it all the time. And then, of course, we have the satanic witch, Marina Abramovic, who has her satanic spirit cooking dinners where you mix blood, semen, urine, and breast milk, which, by the way, where do they get the blood and the semen and the breast milk? There's videos of her on the internet doing these rituals. And then also at her little spirit cooking dinners, they're depicting cannibalism. You see maybe something that we would hope is a cake, but it looks like a human body. And then actually at some of her dinners, you see humans, actual real humans, as centerpieces. There's a famous picture of her and Lady Gaga, and it looks like there's a body and a casket. And then they're taking a spoon and licking it. And, they kind of make it seem like, oh, this is just art. We're not really eating them. Well, no, actually, I look back at all of those pictures now, knowing what we know now, I guarantee you that those pictures that are public, that they are actually eating human meat. It's not art. We know it's not art.
Marina Abramovic was in a recent podcast. Producers are pulling it up right now. And this clip went viral, and she's like, I'm a victim. I can't even walk down the street anymore. Yeah. I think that you also shared this. What's your response to her? Yeah, there it is. And holy smokes. I mean, seriously, she is morphing into what does in fact look like someone who has a gingerbread house in the woods. Right. There's no other way to explain it. Why would you on purpose look like this?
I know. It's I swear, I'm she must be running low on adrenochrome. I swear these people, I've always said this, when you're that evil on the inside, it eventually manifests in the physical. And now we're seeing eyes wide open. We're seeing her actually fully morph into a satanic witch. I mean, she looked if you were going to cast a witch, in a play or a movie, that's who you would cast. So yeah, it's funny because when we did Outer Shadows, Mike Smith was the director of Outer Shadows. By the way, you need to have him on. In 2020, we exposed her in Outer Shadows. That went
one of the most important documentaries ever made.
Yeah, and before it was banned everywhere, of course. But she doesn't like us because we went scorched earth exposing her and her spirit cooking, her demonic crap, in 2020. And after Outer Shadows came out, went viral, people were just roasting her all over social media. And they were, and at the same time, she had this deal with Microsoft, and people were complaining and just going after Microsoft because they just learned the truth about who she really is. And so Microsoft ended up actually canceling her deal, which was amazing. And then she ran to the New York Times, and they did this softball interview with her to try to rehab her image, which didn't work. And then the New York Times, reached out to Mike Smith, and they they try to get a comment from him, but they either didn't quote him accurately or just didn't quote him at all because, you know, but anyways, the chickens are coming home to roost and things are coming full circle now. And it's really funny to watch these like horrible demonic people who we know have done horrible things to children, you know, do podcast tours and try to paint themselves as victims. I mean, I find it actually super entertaining and I just can't get enough popcorn, Benny.
Yeah, the Jay-Z makeout session was really a little
Oh my
much
God,
for
yeah.
me. Yeah, this is the guy who puts Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl. Got it. Okay, that's all. And Lady Gaga, of course, right? Like the moment I saw Lady Gaga, I thought of you, Liz. I was like, oh no, oh, it's Lady Gaga.
Those are like, I mean, of course, those are her two top, like, you know, spirit cooking, like wizards and witches to have in. Remember, she trained Lady Gaga. She actually like threw Lady Gaga in the woods, like stripped her naked and blindfolded her to find her way back home, which by the way is very similar to what they do with the MK Ultra mind control programming. So yeah. So yeah, I mean the Super Bowl halftime performance was pretty much just, you know, a spirit cooking reunion. But
that's right. It really did feel like a ritual, didn't it? Yeah. This is the jump scare. I didn't even know this photo existed. Whew, what a jump scare. Goodness gracious. Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So that was last year in Japan. So now, like, here we have a direct tie. I mean, we knew that Marina Abramovic was tied to Hillary Clinton's circle. We know that John Podesta, who is her former campaign chairman, and Tony Podesta go to spirit cooking dinners because it's in their emails. But here we have a direct tie between, you know, one witch being Hillary Clinton with another satanic witch, Marina Abramovic. And that was last year. They were at some event in Japan. So
perfect.
She looks a little less witchy there. So like, it's just like, now that the truth's coming out, like her full.
Ronald Dahl. The Ronald Dahl quote, if you are evil and wicked and twisted on the inside, no matter what, you will become wicked and twisted on the outside. Like there will be a guaranteed metamorphosis because we're all spiritual creatures after all. Like we all have a spirit. It's not just the body, it's the spirit. And I think there's a lot of people whose spirits are very disturbed right now over these revelations. They don't know what to do or where to turn. And I just want to end with this, Liz. Like, what would you like to see happen here? You know, and instead of like painting with broad brushes, like who would you really like to see focused upon? And after reading these Epstein files, what would be your biggest takeaway? How would you like to see, perhaps, if there is such a thing as justice in this world, there's going to be God's justice, obviously, and it's going to be horrifying for these people. But what would you like to see done on this mortal plane?
Yeah. Well, you know, I will say there's been a positive development. There are several UN experts that are calling for like global governments to, you know, to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. They have to come out with statements saying that this is not going away and this should not go away. And they also implied that, you know, some of these people should be tried in international courts because, you know, a lot like Jeffrey Epstein, for example, and a lot of his co-conspirators, they didn't just commit crimes in one country. They committed crimes in multiple countries. And I would argue that many of these people, maybe all of them, should go through military tribunals because there's so many of them. And again, these crimes are not just like, did not just cross state lines, the United States, being New York and New Mexico and Ohio, where Les Wexner lives, who's a co-conspirator, by the way, of Jeffrey Epstein. They were international. So I would like to see military tribunals. I would like to see like Nuremberg 2.0 and like none of them escape, you know, and then come and work for the US government or something. Like, I think they all need to have a fast trial through the military would be amazing. And then they should all get the death penalty. Because like, there's no place for people that like rape, torture, and eat children in this world. But like, humanity cannot survive and thrive when those kinds of people, are number one here and existing and roaming freely, but number two, when they're in positions of power. So I do think it's great that we have multiple countries appearing to pursue justice because this needs to be a global effort. I think it's great that even though the UN has sketchy ties itself and has been tied to child sex trafficking and also had Ghislaine Maxwell speak for them, but at least they're doing the right thing now. And so, yeah, they all need to be held accountable and they all need to face justice 100%. And I do have faith that it will happen. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And I was right about Pizzagate. So
you share the title with Alex Jones on this program, a title we bestow on virtually no one, which is the most right woman on the internet.
Oh,
he's the
very
most right
sweet
man on the man on the internet. And yeah, thank you, Liz. Godspeed.
Thanks,
here's Liz's social media handle. She has 500, we're just going to round up, 600,000 subscribers. Here you can follow her on X. She does some really remarkable and important work. And if you haven't seen Out of the Shadows, and if you haven't seen this documentary, it will change your life. And it is more true today, is more terrifying today than the first time I watched it, which was 3 or 4 years ago. So
yeah. And I do think that we'll see, people involved in the Podesta emails go down soon. I would love to see John Podesta get arrested soon. I think that day is coming very soon. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is like one of my number one targets. So we'll see.
Thank you, Liz. Godspeed.
Thanks, Benny. Keep up the great work.
Godspeed, Liz. Thank
Bye.
you. Whew, we were cooking today, not spirit cooking. We'll leave that to the evil demons, but we are cooking today. Got some very, very eclectic and fascinating conversations. You want to make sure that you are, at the very least, aware of the world around you. You want to make sure that you know these things. I mean, some of these things, you kind of wish you didn't know. But then what kind of a man would you be? What kind of person would you be if you just wanted to live in peace and bliss and let so much evil transcend? It's a good thing. It's a good thing to expose these people. It's a good thing to shine light on evil. It is important for people, and most people have a moral conscience, and all of us have a spirit living within us that God put there. Like that, the vast majority of us are not completely and totally seized by darkness, and you're repulsed by this. And if we live in a Christian nation and we say that, then we should start acting like it. And so it's good. And we cover this stuff, not because it's fun, but because it is critically important. And it is our obligation. It's like our duty, actually, as Christians, to look at this stuff with open eyes, and then to ask God for help in fighting it. Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one Christian conservative wireless provider in America. It's Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the single most reliable cell phone service in all of America, available on all 3 major networks. Top-tier cell phone service that will not let you down, and they stand the gap in culture. They've stood beside us, and they'll be with us again next week when we are in Washington, D.C. for the State of the Union. So take a stand today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT to use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. We've had a lot of fun. And a very, again, interesting time. We are watching history happen before our very eyes, which is what the show is all about. Will anybody be charged over the Epstein disclosures? Well, let's go ahead and look at the polls here on something that's kind of pretty obvious at this point, right? So it's spiked up over the last couple of hours to 60% because of the Prince Andrew arrest. Now up and down, but hovering in a good area, right around 50%, I think would be the average there. So good. Yes. Thank you. Well done. I love to see those chances spiking. And we want justice in this world as best as we can get. There will be God's justice forever. So make sure you're absolutely on the right side of both of those, but certainly God's. If you have a priority, make sure you're on the right side of God's justice. Here's President Trump at the Institute of Peace. He's like signing. He just signed like a big charter document. Now he's shaking hands with all the nations and everyone. Didn't we try and like go with the programming. This one we just decided. The Prince Andrew arrest. We were just gonna like maybe take the highlights of this if there are any. Nonetheless, it's good. Speaking of the United Nations, to end around that evil organization and. There it is. Okay. Donald Trump minting the Institute of Peace. Okay. 1 Corinthians, speaking of peace, from the Prince of Peace, 1 Corinthians 15:57. But thanks be to God who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. It's not our effort. It's the effort of God. It's the providence of God that delivers for us. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to deliver for you every single day. May God bless you. March with us. The victory is assured. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.